Let them know it's the natural order of things on our show.
Oh, okay.
All right. Go ahead, Carlos.
And welcome to the podcast. I'm Carlos Gomez. Let's welcome Charlie B. Williams.
Hello, everyone. I'm here. I love myself.
So stupid. Jack Kasperzak.
How's it going? I'm not going to say anything.
And Tyrus Gaucher.
Hey, Charlie, how come you got on that Christmas special hat tonight?
Because this hat is
You're
amazing.
in the middle of the summertime in Chicago.
Amazing. It's cold here. I got air conditioning on. I know you don't know anything about that. That's hot box shooting over there.
Oh my God.
We're not allowed to say hi to
And
Carlos anymore. So
And this week we have with us Fisa Castellanos. She is a 3D environmental artist and has been for a very long time.
we get some good guests on this.
Hi, Fisa.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing all right, guys. Say hi to Fisa.
He said hello.
Hello.
How come she gets to ask how you are?
Yeah, we don't get
Oh, how
that.
are
Because
all
I
you
get
guys?
because I get tired of talking to you guys.
Yeah,
That's why we always have guests. Because
ask how he's
Charlie's
doing.
going to talk about his beard not looking like Tyrus's. Tyrus is going to talk about how manly his beard is.
That's true. That's true.
Carlos is going to cry because he can't grow a beard.
Carlos is going to cry because he don't need a damn beard.
And we're all going to advise Carlos not to go to jail with that baby face.
Someone's got to do it.
You said it.
Yeah.
Hi, Fisa.
Yes,
Whereabouts are you these days?
I am living in Austin, Texas.
Yeehaw. So you finally got that professional bull riding job you've been trying to get?
Yeah, how did you know?
I was just guessing, the whole Texas thing. How about them Rockets?
Golden State.
Yeah.
The Rockets have officially been eliminated by the Golden State Warriors.
As they should.
They got curried out.
Curry.
See what I did there? That security curr them out. Looks like Fisa left us
I think
again.
security took Fisa away, too.
Curd her out.
Took her out.
Hey, knock it off, guys. We're live. You guys are telling these jokes. People are listening.
You haven't told Jack to get focused yet.
All right. Well, while we wait for Fisa to come back, there was a discussion that we were having about Tomorrowland.
Oh, my God.
We doing it? So we doing it?
I
Let
haven't
me-
even
let me-
seen it.
Let me get my one sound effect
Because
in for
Jack
this movie.
was so horribly disappointed.
There you
Yeah. Let me get my one sound effect for this movie.
go. Jack is
And
crediting a Disney movie. Come on now.
That
Wasn't
movie got
that bad.
crickets. So, Charlie, you're saying how good this movie is, and Jack is saying it's absolutely
I said it
right.
was a good movie. I thought Brad Bird did a good job. I didn't think it was. I don't take anything too far from it.
All right, I'm back.
Jack says it's not a. Oh, welcome back. Jack says it's not a kids movie or anything. I don't know.
I
They're
just don't
talking
think
about
it's-
Tomorrowland, Fisa.
Oh, okay. Did you guys see it?
I liked it, and Jack did not like it because it didn't have a
Jack,
deep enough.
Jack, what was
introspective
your
plot.
Facebook post on it though?
It just said no, Brad Bird. No, I want my hour back as well on top of the ticket that I got back. I've only asked for. I asked for a refund. That movie was so bad.
Really? You asked for a refund?
And the guy goes, "Yeah, this is the fourth one I've done, and that's just me."
Really?
Yeah.
What did you not like about it so much? Did you want more or something?
No, I mean, I was an hour in and I still had no idea where the plot was going. We're still focused on that damn button. Like, in an hour in, there should be more going on. And they spent 20 minutes walking around that city showing off Disney's new ride. I mean, that girl was literally, like, jumping from balcony to balcony looking at stuff flying by. That's not a story. That's not a movie. That's a ride.
Hmm.
And that dialogue was painful. Was so painful. And I will give Disney plenty of leeway. I'm all for a cheesy, childish movie, but that was painful.
Not that much, huh?
No.
No.
And I'm surprised. I went in with higher expectations because it's Brad Bird, and they had a lot of money and a decent cast. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And let's move back to Fisa. Hi.
Hey, what's up? This is an interesting show.
Well, stop dropping out on us and we'll be fine.
Oh, hey. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about what you're doing right now as far as your career goes.
Like the studio I work for and what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I currently work at, I'm here in Austin, and I work for a company called Certain Affinity. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but they do, their specialty is multiplayer maps for different game companies. And my job there is as a map lead. So I'm in charge of one of the multiplayer maps, and I have a couple of like mid-level artists underneath me, and we all work together to getting each of the multiplayer maps together.
And then you sell your map to a different company?
Oh no, we have my boss. Max Overman. He used to work for Microsoft on Halo. I think he worked on the first two. So that's like our main bread and butter is doing multiplayer maps for them, and then we get other projects here and there as we can. I think they've done some Call of Duty maps too.
Oh, cool.
So it's a nice place to be because you're kind of like in a farm where you get to work for all these great titles.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
How did you get your start in environmental art?
I started in the industry. I have a degree in automotive design, and I got that back in '97, and I decided I didn't want to live in Detroit. So I was getting freelance gigs doing concept art for video games, and I just decided to stick with that because if I could do vehicles and weapons and other stuff in video games, that satisfied my need to draw cars. And from concept art, I went to. Uh-oh, did I get dropped?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. From concept art, I went to characters, which is a weird jump. But back then, this is back before PS2. In those days, you could do a little bit of everything. So I got moved to characters, and then I worked on EverQuest 2. I worked on a lot of the NPCs for that game and the monsters. And then
what was your first job in the industry? Where was it?
It was here in Austin. I started here in this industry. I actually went right out of school. I was working for the Disney stores, like working for the architects, like doing 3D drawings for them. And then, wow. Then from there I moved to Brazil, and I worked I went there to go work on a CG movie, and then I found out I was actually just working in the R&D of a company called their Hede Global. It's kind of like ABC or NBC here. They had like their own R&D department where they were doing experimental stuff. So they weren't really making a movie, and I decided to come back to the States so I could actually have something on my resume. And that's when I started in video games here in Austin as a concept artist.
That's cool. And then when did you end up in St. Louis?
After I was here for 2 years, and in this industry you get to know people. So that's where I met Trammell, was working here in Austin, and he left here to go work for Sony in St. Louis, and then he was poaching people from our studio here in Austin, and that's how I ended up there.
Nice. And that's how Fisa and I met, because that Trammell guy, he's the same guy that poached Mike Chubb, and then they eventually poached Josh and Raj too. And that's how all of us became friends in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So then you went from, you got picked up. Did you ever work on PlanetSide?
Yeah, I was on PlanetSide. I think they were probably 2 or 3 years into production. And I was just mainly doing concept art on that game. I did weapons and vehicles.
Cool. And for those of you that don't know, PlanetSide was one of the first massively multiplayer online worlds that just never stopped. There was always someone playing all the time.
Yeah, it was like battles of 300 on 300. It was pretty crazy.
Yep. And their new one's pretty cool. They came out with their new one 2 years ago now on PC, and now they have it ported over to Xbox, PS4, and they've been working on the betas for that one for PlaySide 2.
And so it was Variant back in the day, wasn't it? Wasn't it called something like that?
Yeah, it was called Variant, but I came on right when they named it. I think it was when I came in. It was actually just Sony, and then they switched it to Sony Online.
Okay. So then you were part of the transition that grabbed everyone from St. Louis, pulled you over to San Diego.
Yeah.
And how did you feel when the news broke about that?
I had already lived in California, so my only concern was the cost of living exchange. I mean, I wanted to move back out to California, but yeah, and there was the yay, we're moving, but oh crap, my rent's probably going to double out there.
Yep.
Yep.
And they didn't pay us double to move out there.
Did they? This might be too personal of a question, but did they give you any raise or any sort of a bump because of the difference?
Well, what's crazy is they told us, like, when we were getting ready to move out there, that the cost of living difference was 44%. But I think I got maybe a 10 or 15% raise. So, you know, I guess living in St. Louis, I kind of lived really nicely, and then moving to San Diego, it wasn't so much. But I mean, it was nice to move out to the bigger studio, and with the whole team. I loved that team. That was one of the better teams I worked with.
I didn't even work there, and it was my favorite team that you guys have ever worked with. You guys were tight. Like, you guys did everything together. Yeah,
because we did. None of us were from there.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. It's definitely the culture that I always look for when I go to sign on full time somewhere. I always use that as the goal, and I know it's a lofty goal, but man, you guys, like, everyone clicked, and you guys did like what was it, the frisbee? You guys, there was some kind of frisbee something or other.
They had a basketball team.
Yeah.
But
that might be. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember Big Brad.
Mhm.
So then you went from what happened after Sony?
I was at Sony so I worked on EverQuest. Then it came out, and then we were actually out for 2 or 3 months before World of Warcraft came out. And that's when it was funny when that game came out, because we already had, I guess we already had a big niche on the market, EverQuest. And then, you know, this other game comes out, and they start taking our players. And it was fun as a team, because, you know, when you're working on these teams, a lot of people have, like we would have emails going back and forth where we would have a say on some of the quests or how the game was working. And a lot of us who worked on the game were saying, hey, you know, this game, you know, I never played it, but other people were saying this game is easier, it's more user-friendly, the quests, you know, it's more mainstream. But our creative director was taking that as the game was dumbed down and more easy, and he wanted EverQuest to remain a game that was for super smart people, I guess. I don't know, but it didn't really work out that way. But yeah, for people who like to work really hard to get items, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, EverQuest is brutal, and then the community was brutal for EverQuest, where like they had rules in it where, well, at the same time they had one of the best MMO communities still. I mean, I know I have a group of friends that play it still now even today. A group of 12 of them where they just went back to it a couple weeks ago because they still do different what's called progression servers and stuff like that, and do the old rule sets and stuff. So, but yeah, that game itself was brutal, and then like the community would build up different rules and stuff about what mobs you can fight, and like if a certain one group is in this area, then you can't come in it, or they'll do a thing called training the mobs because the mobs were so hard to kill and stuff like that. It was a crazy dynamic, some of the best emergent gameplay, as they call it, to come out of an MMO, and still, it's really cool.
Yeah, I like playing it. I think I played it for like a solid 8 months, and then I was like, okay, I got to put it away. It's a good. I had some fun with that game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I worked on that game and a couple of expansion packs, and that was when I guess the new next-gen technology was coming out with the consoles with PlayStation 2, and I wanted to work on those projects, but they kept me on, because it's a big company, you can't really move around to where you want, you can just make requests. So I was requesting to move onto those teams because I wanted to learn the next-gen technology. The last thing I wanted was to be stuck in old school, for like 4 or 5 years, and then if something were to happen, I wouldn't be able to get a job. So I just ended up, at that point, leaving the studio and getting a job somewhere else.
And where was that somewhere else?
I moved, oh, this is great. This is probably, I don't know if you guys have heard this kind of story before. I got a job with Josh Robinson at this company called Climax, and they were working on the PSP version of Silent Hill. I got the job up there. They moved me up there, and 9 days later, they let me go. 9 days.
Oh, wow, really? So you got to talk about that. You can't tease them.
How many lunch breaks did you take?
No, what happened was, I guess apparently the company was already falling under. Like, the game was supposed to come out when the movie did, and I think the movie came out at the beginning of the summer. I got hired there in November, so the game was already that far behind. And I think the producer had decided, well, let's just hire a lot more people real quick, and we'll get this game out the door. And then
people at the yeah.
And then the publisher was like, no. After he had hired, because there were 3 of us got hired. After we got hired, they said, no, we're going to take the game back to the UK and finish it here. So we got. I'm not sure how many people got let go. I know there were a large portion of us that got let go when I did, and then the rest of them got let go within the month. But that was funny.
So do you find there's a lot of instability in game for you, even after having so much experience and being at different studios? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it depends. You kind of gotta, like what Carlos was saying. You're trying to get a job, but and you want them to want you, but you have to like be really. I think in this day and age, kind of be picky with the studios that you go with. Like if they have a bad reputation, it's probably not a good idea to try and get in there, because they haven't learned from their mistakes, and you're going to either end up like on a crunch and let go, or you're going to end up, or they're going to end up closing. That's what I've learned. That seemed to happen. Like after that incident, I went to a larger company, and after there, I was unemployed for probably about 2 months, and that was the second time I'd been laid off. And it's funny, when you get laid off, in the beginning you freak out and you want to get a job right away, so you're going to take whatever's offered to you. And that was my first lesson. Was after that studio, I got a job at THQ Heavy Iron in LA, and when I interviewed for the position, it was one of those places where it was I came in for the whole day, and every 2 hours they had me interviewing with someone from the team. Yeah. And there was one guy I did not get along with in that interview process, and that was the art director. So that should have told me right there, do not take the job.
Bad move, yeah.
But I took the job, and I was out of there 10 months later because I could not take him and I did not get along. So that was I guess that was one of my lessons. When you're interviewing for a job, you kind of have to read the people, and if you don't get along, and at that point you're not going. Chances are you probably aren't, so you shouldn't pursue that position. You should just look somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then also too, other things like things that I've learned is to make sure that the team, like when they're talking to you, you're interviewing them too.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking them how they get along with people in other roles, where the trust is, if they like their management or not, those kind of things. Because if you get the job, if those problems are there, then you're better off. I think, if you're on government funding, unemployment, it's better to kind of be a little bit picky if you can be.
Because you're probably going to be on government funding in 8 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can take your time to pick a good studio to fall into, then that's the place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're flat broke and you don't have any kind of finances coming in. Obviously, you have to do what you have to do. But
yeah, you get into that crappy studio and then you work hard to get out. Like you just wait, because it seems kind of like jobs come and go. They'll be there, so you can just once I guess if you're making money, then you have the opportunity to try and find another job. But sometimes that's hard, especially if you're working a lot of hours.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the biggest move that you've done for a job? Because it seems like you've pretty much lived everywhere.
Probably the biggest move I did, and it was the shortest one, was right after school when I didn't get a full-time job. I was just like, what the heck, I'll move to Brazil and take this other job just to get out of the country. And that was kind of fun. I mean, it wasn't the job for me, but getting the experience outside of the United States was kind of cool.
How did that happen? How did you find that job?
I went to Art Center, and they have like a process when you're I guess a senior, an 8th term student, where they have companies come in and interview students for a job. So that's when I was in the automotive department, so that's when Ford, Toyota, Kia, Honda, all those people come in and interview you, and as a potential candidate for a job. And there were other one-off options. We didn't have entertainment design then, so there were these one-off companies. You could interview with Imagineering, Walt Disney Imagineering, and I chose to interview with this company, this guy that came in from Brazil that wanted to bring people in to make movies at his broadcasting station down in Rio.
His basement?
No, not in his.
Did he have a white van and a pocket full of candy?
No, actually, I think this company, Headache Global, is one of the top broadcasting stations down in South America. They make a lot of telenovelas.
Look at Jack started dropping stuff. He's like, I love that.
I got real excited. I want to work on telenovelas.
Yeah. No, I think what's funny is I went down there. The guy interviewed, and at the time I only wanted to draw. I didn't want to do 3D, and I'm like, okay, I'll come down there, but I only want to do concept art. I don't want to get on the computer at all. And finally, when I got down there, I had a computer, and they already had a guy doing the 2D stuff. So I had learned at school Alias, Wavefront 1 and 2, and when I moved to Brazil, that was when Maya came out. So they were all basically the same program, but brand new interfaces every single time. So that was my that's where I picked up Maya, was down there.
And then you were talking about going to art centers for school.
Yeah.
And I know that we have this conversation all the time on this podcast. And when I was talking to you earlier today, you said that you had a point of view as far as schooling goes. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I listened to your podcast last week, and I guess you guys were talking about the opinion on whether you should, if school should have you try out or not. And I totally think that they should have you try out, because then it shows. I mean, even if you want to go to an arts magnet high school, you have to try out to get in. They don't just take you. So, if you're trying out to get into school, then you really want to be there. And you're not going to slack off in the class because you worked hard to get in there. for me to get into Art Center, I think I tried out 3 times, and I moved to California to go to that school. So I was sitting around for a year, like taking little classes at night there, trying out every semester to get in until I got in.
Jeez.
How was your senior year? Talk about your senior year there. You have a crazy senior year at Art Center, right?
Yeah, it's their 8th term, and it's
Right. Yeah.
they have it's changed a lot since I went there because we didn't have an entertainment design department at all.
Yeah.
But I went to school with some really talented guys, like Ryan Church. I went to school with him all the way through school, and he's in the movie industry now. Actually, when we got out of school, he went to Walt Disney Imagineering right when we got out. But he was in the same curriculum as me. They didn't have entertainment design, so the next best thing was automotive design, because those were the classes that taught like the techie stuff.
Yeah.
So my senior year was when they started having entertainment design classes, and that's when I took some of those classes. But we made like in the automotive department, you make like you're designing. I did a car for Honda. They sponsor the projects, so they come in. They give you in 7th and 8th term. They give you money to make the cars, the little models. So I made a quarter scale model. And then they give us like a big room. It's kind of like what your senior year, you're also a marketing agent for the school, because then they'll bring people into your room and show you working, and saying, hey, this is, where you'll end up if you work hard. And they have this thing called Super Thursday, and that's when all the companies come in and interview you for a job.
Yeah, Art Center is really cool. Joe. I know another guy that taught there, and always used to talk about that year, like eighth quarter or senior year, and how like even in the entertainment design, like some students would like have problems, and like they would not let you graduate unless you passed from. You had to go like show your stuff in front of a board and stuff like that, and it's like
we had that. In the middle, we had like a
yes, in the middle. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in the middle, they usually cut about half the class.
Yeah, it's like
But it's, in all honesty, with as much as that school costs, it's a favor, to those students, because they were just not.
Because you're talking about some of the rare students that like would get cut, or they make it past the cut, but maybe there was one other test toward the end, and they just had to kind of like pay again. So, and then really try to work hard the next time around so they can actually, make it. Or if you got cut it, people will try to reapply. It's like.
Oh, they had to take a term over?
Yeah, so like if they didn't make, and I would have to like preference this, but like they would have to like, if you didn't make the cut, like they would tell you can't proceed on in this degree because they would only take so many, but like. Then I was like, well, what do you do then if they're like in the middle of their schooling, and he was saying, well, really, they would either have to like reapply again or wait a semester out and try to get back in, And I was just like that.
So basically, just because you made it to the school doesn't mean that you can slack off.
Yeah, sophomore year or whenever that came up, it's like,
So it's like a portfolio show in the middle of the
portfolio critique or cut. Yeah,
yeah. You go in front of the board of all the guys and you show your portfolio, and then they tell you whether you get to move on or not. But you know what's interesting? A lot of people that I know from that school also didn't go. They left. Like they went to the. I've always been one of those students that wants an A, and so I'll go all the way through and get the degree. But I've seen people, or I know people who have gone through the school, even though we're assigned the classes we have to take. Maybe because they were older and they had more experience, they went into the school, got what they needed out of it, and then they left. Like they didn't even finish, but they got jobs, and they're just as successful. Because in this industry, it's not necessarily that piece of paper; it's your portfolio.
And I think you're making some really good points, and this goes back to the things we've been trying to say. It's really more about your education and what you get than it is about a degree. And so you have schools like Art Center who's saying, look, it's about your actual education and are you progressing? And then you have other schools who are saying, oh, well, if you go through all 4 years We don't test you. No one stops you. Somehow you're going to take that magical degree and walk into the real world, and they're going to train you there. And I'd rather go to a place where they say, okay, halfway point, let's see if you suck or not. All right, you suck, go home. And now I've saved thousands of dollars, literally.
Yeah, it's quit wasting your money.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than spending 4 years of your life spending money, and it's money that the money that it costs to go to the school, yeah, but the money that you could be making at a real job instead of being at school.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of money that compounds that you're missing out on, and it's only because you didn't want to go to be an accountant. So it doesn't, I don't know. And then people get mad that they graduate with an art degree and they're working at Kinko's. Like maybe you're just a Kinko's kind of master.
You can always go back to school and do something else. I always thought I wish I'd gone back to school and been a pharmacist.
Oh, they make a lot of money.
Yeah, and you don't have to deal with the people. You're just in the back, like mixing the medicine.
Every once in a while, you come up to the front and give them like a tired up yes. You can.
I got a friend back home that you guys know anew. I don't know if you guys, maybe you do. Anyway, he was doing 3D, and you know it's always been hard to find 3D work in Chicago, especially in the early days. So he gave up. He became a pharmacist, and he was actually doing 3D on the side for extra money.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Well, so I wanted to talk a little bit about your cars and your fascination for cars. Where did all that come from?
I don't know. I've always liked them.
What's your opinion on the Mini Cooper S?
It has a sucky clutch plate.
Ah, you remember. Bastards.
Would you consider it a more of a girly car?
No, I think it's a guy car.
Really?
Boom! I hate being right all the time.
I can't fit in that car. I'm sorry.
Oh, you can't fit it. It's like a go-kart. It's like a...
Yeah, I can't.
Right, exactly. So real men don't fit into go-karts.
Don't fit in that car.
Yeah.
And then you try to make cars better, but
is that why you drive an Astrovan?
Yes, I'm 6 feet, 250 pounds, Carlos. That's right. I don't ride in a Mini Cooper. Hey, here's the difference.
You need a station wagon for that big manly beard. Is that what it is?
Hey, here's the difference. Trojans and Magnums. Never forget. All right.
Right. Don't make me go get my box.
Did I leave it there when I was in Cali last time or what? Talk to me.
What? Now you trying to creep up in my bed? Get out of here, Carlos.
Pause, dude. Continue.
So it is a girly car. Cool.
So
all right, next subject.
So you've always been into cars. Are you still racing them, or because I know you had a couple high performance ones?
Yeah, I when I lived in Los Angeles, I went to the track a lot out there. I'm just getting used to the culture out here is a little different, so I'm just kind of trying to jump in and figure it out. But yeah, I like. I'm not like professional, and I don't go a lot, but I like to go out and have fun.
Mm-hmm. What kind of car do you have?
I have a 1993 Mazda RX-7. The initial D one, if you guys know that. Yeah.
But you don't know. I'm sorry, Charlie. You don't know. He's like, yeah.
Charlie's
totally.
like, yeah, okay.
Totally.
You know, there is also a whole animation series about that too, about those cars too.
Yeah.
Over in Japan. Yes, I know what I'm talking about. Like I said before, stop talking when grown folks are talking.
Let me tell you something.
You know what initial D is?
Let me tell you something.
Should we fill you in?
So, Fisa, when you come out to California again, if you ever come up to the San Francisco area, I'll come grab you, and then we'll go hang out with a friend of mine. He's a professional drift car racer.
Yeah, you should.
That's a lot of fun.
That looks fun.
And he's like whipping around. He was whipping around the course, skating and stuff, and he's like, "How do you like it?" I said, "This is like commuting in Chicago."
Funny.
The same damn thing, just no trees. Let's go back to how much you've moved around for work.
Uh-huh.
And this question kind of goes out to everyone there. How much sacrifice would you guys be? It would be considered acceptable for a job. Like, would be moving to Brazil okay?
It depends. I mean, it depends on what stage you are in your career, and also what the opportunity is.
It could be like 3 different stages: beginning, middle, and then senior level. I think later on it would be if it's the right place because you've been around the block and you know, and if it's the right team, like she was mentioning earlier, you know, she still has fond memories of like an amazing team she was on. Say for some reason that team got back together, that sounds like something enough for you to be able to move.
For Voltron.
You know, like I have a team that I used to work with, which would be amazing to work with again if everyone came back from where they are with all the success they had. You know, if you're in the beginning of your career and it's very competitive and it's a good fit, you know, I would say you should be moving if this is something you really want to do. You know, what do you guys think?
I think it's easier to make jumps if you move around. Like, if you think you're, like, because a lot of time, you know, when you're at a studio and you think you're ready to be I don't know what the title would be, maybe junior 2 or a mid-level artist, and you're not getting that from your studio, sometimes jumping to another studio where you can get that position is worth the move, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what always catches me off guard is when people feel that they have to be loyal to a company. And the response is companies are never really loyal to us as artists or any field, right? It's really as long as it's advantageous to that company, you have a job. The moment that it's not, you have a pink slip. And so I agree with what she's saying. Absolutely. If there's no place for me to move or I don't have opportunities there, there should be no hesitation, no matter where you are in your career, as long as you know where you're going to land is a better place or at least a better opportunity. So if you're going to get a better title, sometimes it's better to leave so that it sets you up for the job after the next job, right? So I completely agree with that.
And it might even be you're ending up in a town that you've always wanted to live in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I could argue that you could sacrifice a lot even for a terrible job just if it's headed in the right direction. I mean, I've told people and I've heard it said, you know, if you want to, like, just for an example, if you want to work in film, like, you're not ready or you can't get a job at a studio, go get a job at Starbucks in Hollywood, because then at least you're in the town where the people are, and you know you're meeting people, and you can go knock on actual HR door, make facial contact, you know. So who's going to move across country for a Starbucks? But as long as you know it's lining you up for what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
Well, we had a guest that we had some technical difficulties. He's going to be on in the next few weeks, but he did that very same thing where he was in San Diego. He was doing a lot of 3D concept art, and he moved up to LA because he wants to get into film, and he's currently working at Walgreens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
That has amazing work. Amazing ZBrush work. This is good stuff. So
So
we'll be talking to him in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, that's a determination right there. Yeah, I think you kind of have to set yourself up for things to fall in your lap. And I guess moving to the place where you need to be can help you get there.
And this serves somewhat of a pep talk for someone that we all know. And it's going to be vague because this whole thing just kind of got lathered up. But this guy was looking for a job, and this company that is in a completely random state had offered him a position, a pretty good position, and this guy is just now like graduating school and stuff. And he was nervous, and he got onto social media, and he was kind of upset that his life was going to change, but that's kind of something that's going to happen, because that's why people that love LA live in LA, and that's why people that love Austin live in Austin, and you have your Chicagoans. Everyone who lives in those spots is accustomed to a different life. And of course the kimchi isn't going to be the same, and that's why I always have Chicago pizza shipped in, because the pizza in California is garbage. But it's going to be different. What would you guys say to someone like a kid fresh out of college who basically passed up on kind of an opportunity of a lifetime?
I would say, I think it's hard when you get out of school. I mean, even if it's not in our industry, when people graduate from a college, they usually get a job in the city that they went to college just because they're used to being there. So it's a hard move, but it's kind of like a gamble. I mean, nothing's permanent. Everything's temporary. I remember when I moved to St. Louis, I did not want to move there. I never lived in the Midwest. That's not a mecca for video games. But, after I moved there, I met some great people, and I had a great experience. And, sometimes I miss the lunches where I could actually take a lunch, go to the doctor, and come back on my lunch break, rather than taking 2 hours. Or like when I lived in LA, I would have to take half a day off to go to the doctor. So it's kind of silly, I guess, those little town things. Because when I lived in St. Louis, we didn't live in St. Louis. We were in the tiniest town before you are in nothing, like in the farm community. So I don't know. I would say take it, and then it's never permanent.
Yeah, that's what I've said many times before. Where you start is not where you end up. So seeing how competitive the industry is, and if it's a good fit, and if it's a good studio, and there's no real reason not to move outside of maybe you're moving away from family, some things you just gotta suck up and be an adult about for your career, because you may spend 5, 6, 7, 8 years maybe, or you may spend 3 or 4 years at this place, get valuable experience, so you're not so green.
Days.
Well, you guys are being very nice, and I'm going to talk about like this whole microwave idea of this new generation, where they feel like they can't recognize opportunities because they've been so coddled, that they think more opportunities like this will just come along. It's like one of the phenomena that happened in the 90s was there was a show called Pimp My Crib or something, MTV Cribs, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so in the late 80s and the 90s, kids were watching this, and somehow, because they watched it on television, in their head, their expectation was that I'm going to have a house like this when I graduate, when I go to high school and graduate, or by the time I'm 19. What came along with that was that kids didn't plan. They didn't have a career in mind. They just thought, I'm a pretty cool kid. I like that type of music. Therefore, I'll get the same results. And so you had these, you spawned a new generation of kids who didn't want to work for anything and thought that things should just be given to them, and that somehow success was going to fall on their lap just because. And I think we're still dealing with that in ways of, oh, well, I know these people who made it in the industry, therefore, eventually I'll make it in the industry. But the part we don't see are the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who don't make it in the industry, who are looked over, who miss out on opportunities. Nobody ever talks about that. And so we have this false narrative, this false idea that, and when I say we, I mean this generation, that somehow success is guaranteed. And so when you have an opportunity in front of you, let's say DreamWorks reaches out to you, instead of saying, wow, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, the response is, well, I'm going to sit around and wait and see if another company reaches out to me. It's mind-blowing. It doesn't make any sense, and it really means that, look, what is your goal? If you apply to a company, do you really want to work there? If not, don't apply. Also, by the way, here's an idea. You might have to move. Why is this so shocking to people? If you're in any field, if you're a lawyer, guess what? You might have to move. So this whole like, oh, I don't know if I want to move, is nuts. And it may be long-term, it may be temporary, but this is a part of being an adult. This is why we go to school. It's for a better opportunity, and sometimes a better opportunity means you got to go live in St. Louis Sucktown, right? or, you know, you might have to move to Sacramento when you want to live in L.A. I mean, this is the lay of the land. This is what happens. And so when I talk to students, when I talk to graduates who kind of tiptoe around this or think that, oh, well, I really don't want to leave home, I look at them and I want to smack them in the face. Grow up. This is reality. You have an opportunity. Embrace the opportunity. You may actually never receive another opportunity like this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Hey Jack, what was running through your head when you got the digital domain opportunity?
I mean, it was a done deal. I didn't even really care about the details. It was kind of, you know, like how can you pass this up? And just like Tyra says, like it may never come again. And I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and to be honest, studios don't just come knocking at your door. Like even when you're really aggressive, like it's hard to get get an interview, even when you have a lot of experience. So these kids with no experience expecting that stuff's just going to fall in their lap all the time, and I can pass this one up because the next one's right around the corner. I mean, it's just ludicrous. So I mean, I was pursuing something in town in Chicago area. It was Adler Planetarium, which I mean would have been kind of an awesome job, but I mean on the scale of things, it's not really what I wanted to do, and it's not. I mean, it's definitely not on the same caliber, but so you know, it's like I was nearing in on closing that, and then Digital Domain calls, and they're like, "Yo, you want to come out?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." And I think within 2 weeks, I was in the car and moving out. I mean, there was no.
I went with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I called you and I was like, "So I'm moving to California," and you're like, "Okay, I'm coming too." It was just kind of almost an overnight thing, you know. And it's I don't know why. And the thing is, I didn't go to school with the intent of working in visual effects. I always assumed I would be more like illustrative or on the cartoon side. So in some sense, I never saw this coming, and it was a leap of faith of getting into something that I wasn't necessarily ready for. But you know, it's turned into a 10+ year career, and I wouldn't have done it any other way.
You know what? Sometimes I guess there's a theory that if you work really hard, you're going to get what you want. But I think a lot of it is you work really hard and you get lucky.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. It's really, I mean, there are people who work their butts off and are very talented. Like, you know, the guy we had last week, extremely talented, and just haven't to this point got a break, and actually may never get a break. That's just the reality of this thing. And so when people look at opportunities and turn their nose up at opportunities to work at a solid company, you know, I can think of a couple companies that are up and coming where if they contact you, you know, you stop a job that maybe pays you more to join them because they might be the next DreamWorks. You know, but if you don't have that vision, if you don't understand, then you'll miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah, that's true.
And then when you are presented with that opportunity, how important is it to reach out to your support system?
It is. It's very important. You should, but it's also important to listen to that support system. But it's like you don't know anything.
Oh,
in terms of that.
The term is asshole.
Yeah.
What is it?
Asshole.
You don't listen.
Yeah. It's. I mean, you have to.
That's the title. That's the title of the show. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, you got to listen to that support system, and so many, like Tyra said, so many people, young people, feel entitled, you know, or they get a little bit of a big head.
Let's define support
Hey
system.
Jack, you're doing
You're a robot. Man.
You're doing robot.
All right.
I think you also do. I've had to do that as an adult, and I've had other adult friends ask me, especially when it's a big move.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my friends.
Oh man. Oh.
Well,
man.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out. I hope you enjoyed the podcast.
Like a little nugget of information, and then the internet neutrality kicked in.
But what I was gonna say is, like, let's define support system, because, you know, there's friends and family, and then there's social media. So if anybody wants to comment on that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, I think
took my lead in.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good. One step ahead.
All good. All good.
Sorry.
I mean, I think it's good. I think it's also good to have mentors, you know, in that support system, because your friends and family. I don't know about you guys. My family, outside of normal business stuff, you know, my dad ran his own business. My mom's highly educated and knows about, you know, interviewing and putting your best foot forward. But in terms of what I do, no clue, you know.
Well, Charlie, I think that's an overstatement. I know what you do. I know what you do very well.
You're so stupid.
Oh, my God.
I don't know why you're being disrespectful and talking about your mom like this, but let's pretend for the sake of this podcast that I don't know. So go ahead and continue.
I so hate you. I wasn't even prepared for that one. No, so what I'm saying, I think it's good to have mentors that you listen to kind of give you that ear. But we have Ms. Fisa back. So what were you saying?
Me?
Yes, you were saying.
Oh, I was
a really good nugget before you left.
You guys are probably saying the same thing. I was just saying I think that's important to do throughout. I mean, people do that throughout their whole career. As you know, you're always asking your friends, you know, especially, what do you think of this company? What do you think of the project? Do you think it's worth the move?
So
and it's important to reach out to more than just your mom and dad, because I can call up my mom and say, hey, I have this job opportunity over here. My mom wants me to be near her.
Yeah.
So she's going to say, she's going to pull, you know, in her direction. Whereas if I call up any of you guys and I say, hey, DreamWorks wants me to swing by, you guys are going to be running over and packing my boxes for me.
No, that's not going to happen. But listen, we do want to get rid of you. We have been trying to get you to go to the Philippines for quite some time, and it's not because we want to help your career. We just want to keep you far, far away. But hey, you're right.
Why are you opening jokes? Why are you opening doors to jokes that are going to make you cry?
Hey, Carlos, have at it. But you're telling the truth, though, about the parenting thing. Like, yeah, a parent is going to give you, especially if you call mom, she's going to try to keep you close. You know, she doesn't want you to risk going someplace and losing a job and being stuck. But, I mean, this is all, what we do is all about risk. It's all about risk. I mean, literally, you know, what we do is you're working on a project. At the end of the project, you could be let go. This is what we do. And I don't understand how young artists don't understand that principle, that idea.
And at the same time, if you're a filing clerk and you're very efficient with putting A's to A's and B's to B's, that might be your last file. It doesn't, like, everything you do is a risk. So you might as well just take a risk. Big risks make for big rewards. Yep. If you play it safe, you're going to be safe.
Okay, so with that being said, because Jack pointed on something really good, we see that the family has a certain angle that they would play. Your moms have an angle, dad's going to tell you the best thing he knows of, and I started talking about mentors and asking those guys, are people your friends that do the same thing, or guys who've been there where you're trying to get. What do you guys think, or what is the correct protocol, if you will, to, you know, there's a lot of forums like Polycount and, you know, and Facebook and artist specific forums that have industry veterans on it, but there is I think should be a limit to how much you ask for help, because I've seen a lot of artists do that also. So what do you guys think about, you know, the Polycounts and the big art forums and stuff like that, in terms of, like, if you don't have that mentor readily available, or if all your friends really don't do what you do, or, you know?
Well, so there are two things. You can get generic mass information, right? So it's macro versus micro. Macro is large information. Hey, what do you guys know about this company, right? Allow people to give you the information, find out as you research. But when you talk about micro, the smaller information, I'm going to call, hey, Carlos, Charlie, what do you guys think about this company? Jack, what do you guys think? What do you know? Have you heard anything? Do you know anyone? And those are going to be private conversations because these are my sources. These are my sources of information. These are my friends, my mentors in this case, and I want to know what they specifically think. And those things are going to be private between us. So they're two tiers, right? They're actually three. There's you do your own research. There's the general public, like, hey, what have you guys heard about this company? Like what she was saying earlier, like if a company has a bad reputation, people will know about it, right? So you get to hear that, and then you reach out to your confidants, the people you trust, and you say, hey, here's my situation, here's what I'm thinking, what's your opinion? But that's a private and intimate conversation that you have privately and intimately, not one that you have out in the open with people.
You don't give out too much of that information, and especially if you're in the process, or if you're interviewing, or if you're looking to interview, or if you know anything about the company in that aspect. Because I see a lot of times on Polycount, like for the game industry, since we have a fellow game artist, environment artist on tonight, I see that a lot. So I'm glad that Tyrus broke that down for us.
And real quick to talk about the Polycounts and all that, if you're on Polycount and you want to be in that industry, there's people in that industry on Polycount. So if you're going to go, and I'm not saying that this happened, but if, let's just say, you go and you had an interview and it went a little rough, you don't want to say that on a public forum in the place where you want to work.
Mm-hmm. Or
That's
Facebook, or anywhere, or Reddit, or anywhere else.
And that could be a very, like Tyrus has been kind of touching on this. It could be a very generational thing where the kids that are coming out of college these days, they're used to having phones and they're used to talking to their friends online and they're used to doing all that. But there's a certain limit where you have to be face to face. You don't want that type of paper trail.
Well, let me tell you this. Let me show you how, for lack of a better word, how dumb that really is. There may be other people you're interviewing against or competing with for the same job sitting on the thread.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
or people.
Absolutely. And so you're literally telling your competition or the person who may be interviewing you your opinion, or you're giving somebody the heads up. Like, this industry is super competitive. And so when we go out in the public or when we talk about things, common sense tells you, be careful what you say. Oh, by the way, someone you may be speaking to in 2 years could be your boss. They don't forget those conversations. People literally remember them, and they remember you and remember the things you say.
Those conversations, because they can pull them up at any time.
Yeah.
They're there forever.
Yeah.
Not to mention, even if it wasn't your competition, because there's a lot of haters out there too.
Yeah, they want to give out bad trolls.
So they might come off as trying to help you, but then you turn around and you see this knife sticking out your back. You're like, what the hell just happened? Well, you gave the world too much information. There's a certain line that shouldn't be crossed. You have your small set of confidants that you can go to and you say, this is what happened, this is what I'm nervous about, this is what went good, this is what went bad. You don't want to put that out there because, especially, there's a lot of companies out there, all of them will say, we're looking for someone that can hit the ground running. And if you say, oh, they asked me about this certain thing over here, and does anyone know a good tutorial for that?
Right, that's right, yeah.
And you're in the process of being hired, then it's...
HR is really, really smart nowadays. Look at everything.
Companies have people who specifically comb the internet for keywords, their company name, and probably a lot of bad words just to see what people are saying about them. But a lot of they have people who that's their specific job. Yeah. Comb the internet to make sure people aren't talking bad about our company.
Yeah.
I've actually been on Twitter, and I was trying to buy when you buy like the biggest Sketchbook Pro program, you can't buy it directly from Autodesk. You have to buy it through a reseller. Well, the reseller was not being attentive to my needs, and so on Twitter, on Twitter, I put on there something to the effect of, you know, I'm trying to buy Sketchbook Pro, and it's horrible. I should have stayed with the cheap version or whatever it was. Dude, someone from Autodesk reached out, private messaged me, asked me for the contact information. I had Sketchbook Pro like the very next day.
Wow.
Yeah. They have people who are actively looking, and they are waiting for someone to say something.
Yeah.
So they can.
We have to realize this is a super competitive market. Everything that we do, whether it's companies like we talk about Autodesk, look, they know that there's competition out there, so their goal is to make Carlos as happy as possible at the expense of the reseller. They can always replace the reseller.
And there's amazing programs out to find that stuff. Like there's like Hootsuite and all these other social networking things. As soon as Carlos's tweet went up on their command center, boom, it lit up. Somebody.
And let me tell you, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that because I want people to go out there and start bad mouthing everyone, because bad mouthing people gets things done. It doesn't. You attract more honeys with bees, or you attract more bees with honey. Sorry, dyslexia kicked in.
I was waiting. I started breathing to go off when you said that.
Everybody leaned forward like,
Hey, that's the podcast title: Catching More Honeys with Bees.
Catch more honeys with D's. But anyway,
nice recovery.
You need to be careful what you're putting out there, and remember, if your social persona is that you're an asshole, no one's gonna want to hire an asshole. No one wants to hire you if you're too needy, if you're asking too many damn questions, none of that stuff.
So I mean, and that's right, Carlos. You're right, because look, they're looking to hire an adult. They're not looking to hire an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, 21-year-old out of school. They're saying, look, we have a team of adults here, and we're looking for a partner. And one of the things they'll say, do you fit our culture? Well, they have a culture of adults. No one has a culture of babies. They don't have any helicopter moms in the industry. Your mom can't come and view the studio. She can't talk to your supervisor. Look, we're talking about adults here. You know, you got to be grown. Act like a grown-up. And a grown-up acts like a grown-up. I mean, like...
I remember when I was graduating, one of the guys didn't know that this was happening, but his mom was sending demo reels and resumes.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. I mean, that's nuts. But once again, that's a phenomenon that's happening since the 90s, where we have this thing, and Charlie will tell you, he's a teacher, helicopter parents who come in and argue their children's grades. This is insane. It's a cultural thing. This is something that's never happened before. And so now you see kids who are saying, Mom, Dad, I don't know if I should take this job, as opposed to what America used to be. That's right, I'm an American. It's this whole, being an independent.
Be an American. Okay, keep going. I got your back.
Hold on, dude. All right. Yeah. So now you have people who instead of building and saying, I'm going to step out on a ledge, I'm going to make this thing happen.
And I will stand up
next to you.
Jack's dog set up.
Because he heard that thing song.
There's a bunch of people who just pulled their headphones out.
But we're losing that. We're losing that aggressiveness. We're losing that, where the youth is willing to step out and be great, step out and take chances. Everybody's so coddled, and it's nuts. And it's happening in school. It's happening at jobs. One of the biggest complaints right now, and not just in the game industry, but the industry in general, is that kids think they can use their cell phones at work. And so companies have to say, you cannot use your cell phone. You cannot use Facebook, because it's such a foreign idea to them that they can't.
Oh, I can't.
That's nuts.
Last night, what are you doing? I'll stop what I'm doing right like that. What are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why do you have your phone out right now? What are you doing? I need you to step out of class. Let's go.
Absolutely. Throw them out of class in a heartbeat.
Class.
We're here to learn. You're here to hurt us. We don't need you.
Mm-hmm.
So now, as far as taking jobs that don't quite match your dream job, what do you guys think about jobs that you take and how it adds or maybe subtracts validity to any side projects that you're working on?
So when we're talking about taking jobs, like there is a process, right, where we have to scan and say, is this a step toward what I want to do? Is it a title that'll get me to what I want to do, right? Is it experience that helps me to learn a little bit more and get me at the company I want to be at? And if so, then we take the job. If it's, well, okay, McDonald's is hiring and they need a manager. Well, I could get that job. I can make more money. I would say never take that job. That isn't a temporary stop. That's a waste of your time. That doesn't count for your 10,000 hours. Shout out to Malcolm. That's my boy. Hang out like that, right? That doesn't count. So why take the job?
This dude.
You know Malcolm X?
No.
Nice.
Mad disrespectful. Mad disrespectful. You don't hear me talking about Chavez, do you? You don't hear me over here joking about Castro, do you?
I thought you
Oh, yeah.
No.
That's cool, Carlos. Be
You're
disrespectful.
joking around about sending me to the Philippines.
Your
But
boy
that's
Pacquiao.
okay.
say Philippian.
Yeah, that wasn't disrespectful
Anyway.
at all. But anyway, yeah. So listen. I mean, that's what we're dealing with ultimately. That's what we're dealing with. People who just don't have a true idea of what's happening, and it's actually an epidemic. All companies are talking about this. You know, where people are coming in with these unrealistic expectations, thinking that I'm going to be. You know, they don't want to take orders. They think they should run everything, and they're not willing to say this is a strategic position. I'm going to learn. I'm going to move. I'm going to grow and go someplace else. All of us, everybody here on this podcast has done that. This is second day knowledge for us. This is common sense. But there's an entire group of people who think I'm going to graduate and I'm going to be the lead producer at DreamWorks, and that's it. That's all I'm accepting. Anything else is a step down. It's nuts.
I have a question on that.
Oh, net neutrality.
Dude.
This, you know what? This podcast supports the Patriot.
That
Patriot.
Netscape Navigator be wearing that ass out.
As soon as she talks, her computer's like, "Shh, be quiet," and it just drops her every single time.
Yeah, we gotta get it back. I have some questions.
So,
Internet, leave her alone.
so Jack, because I know you have a lot of, yes, Tyrus, I know you have a lot of side projects as well. However, I'm asking Jack.
Burning. He is burning. Good host.
It's the white man time to talk. Okay, I get it. I'll be quiet.
Hashtag WP. So Jack, how do you think? Like, do
Jack
you
don't want to talk now.
do you think
Look at Jack's face.
like when you're creating your books and you're creating all of your other artwork, do you think your reputation or your time at Digital Domain helps you and your exposure and people actually know that they're buying from a real artist versus, let's say you were working in a coffee shop, and if you're working in a coffee shop and you're an artist, I get it. I want to do that myself, but just bills prevent me from doing that. But do you think working at Digital Domain helps the validity of your side work?
It's kind of like a two-part. At first, I would say yes, because you go online and you see the stupid Cracked or the Gizmodo or whatever article that says Pixar artist draws children's book and it sells out overnight. Like, that guy didn't do anything other than be a Pixar artist. So absolutely, it gives you immediate exposure, it gives you immediate notoriety, and people who don't have any clue who you are, they know who Pixar is, they know they like Pixar. So if you're working at a company that is in the field and is recognizable, absolutely. If it's in the field but not necessarily recognizable and it's not really going to give you that resume, that label to put on there, not so much. But then there's a second part of it that's kind of like, does it even relate to your field? I mean, you could, Digital Domain's visual effects, right? So that's like completely different than illustration and children's books. So I think when people view the work, they might they might give it some validity. They say, well, hey, he works at this company that is legit and has done all these movies, but it doesn't really speak for storytelling or illustration skills. So that's why I would say yes and no. But like I would say a better example to compare that to is like somebody who works at Disney or DreamWorks or Pixar and then comes out with a comic or a children's book or something.
Charlie, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Are you watching TV?
Yep.
I don't have a. Can you see my TV in the back?
No, it sounded like you were.
No, that wasn't me.
Charlie, we both know a lot of people that have been, especially in the Chicago area, where they're working at a video game company and maybe they want to work on children's books or interactive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You think taking a job at a game, at a somewhat related field, actually helps with their side work?
Yeah, I think it can definitely help with their side work, depending on what they do, but also it can help based on like who they meet. I've known a lot of artists who have formed other smaller things on the side based on them meeting people at that work, because you're going to a place. If we use the video game industry as an example, you're going to a place where other artists are congregating and you're working with them and you build a relationship with them. So I've known a lot of artists that went on and worked at the game industry, but met other people that worked in the same one, or worked in the motion graphics field, and went on and done other side books, started Kickstarters, did art books and stuff like that, based on those connections they've made. So I think sometimes you can do that old saying where iron sharpens iron, and being around that environment, that creative environment, is a really good way to become inspired, and I think there's different levels to that. So having a job in the game industry or film or any type of creative field, I think that can spark it if you have those right people you're working with. Yes.
Fisa?
Yes. I'm afraid I'm going to get dropped if I start talking.
I was going to wait to see if she's going to be like, wise words of wisdom. I don't
know who's following you tonight, but like, glad to have you back.
I'm trying to figure out where it was that we dropped off.
Oh.
I was just about to say something really important.
Yeah, you were talking about a friend, something or other, but that was a little while ago. So if you don't remember, we can move on.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was trying to keep it in my head, but then I had to restart everything, so I forgot.
Oh no, Carlos, pause the podcast, go back, see what she said, then we'll start again.
Yeah, okay.
Oh no, she's gone again.
Told you.
Computer's chauvinist.
I don't even
understand
why Tyrus is such a hater.
I'm the hater. No, her computer's the hater. She's probably got a Mac, but we're not going to even talk about that right now.
Boy, you better watch out.
Yeah.
Tyrus has been writing me about Macs.
Wait a minute.
I'm doing it on purpose now.
Yeah. Charlie goes, whoa.
So now let's go back to the conversation that we were having in the very beginning with Brad Bird and Tomorrowland.
We're going back to that.
Why? What kind of segue is that?
Well, because we started talking about it, and now we're going to go back and talk about it. That's the segue.
Okay.
Watch this. Hang on. Here's a segue. I'm going to mute Charlie.
Don't mess up nothing. Everything's working great. The technology over there.
There.
So.
It's a dictatorship.
Anyway, he's back.
Drunk off a
what did you say? What did you say it was again?
Yes.
A totalitarian regime.
Can't help it, guys. Culture.
Just 8th grade all over again.
How about it? So I
No.
wanted to go back to talk about the movie because Brad Bird was the director, correct?
Correct.
He sure was.
And in recent interviews, he's actually hinted towards his next project,
Oh yeah. Okay.
which would be The Incredibles 2.
hmm
Uh,
About time.
yeah, that's
We're about 2 Toy Stories. No, it's about
Hey,
time.
but you know what? I know everybody's knocking him for knocking him for taking a long time to make part 2. But part one was really, really good. It's an all-time classic. You can put it in at any time. You're like, this is really good. If it came out today, it would still be one of the best animated movies of all times, right? So there's something to be said about saying, okay, let's actually take our time, let this breathe, and then when we do it the next time, let's do it right. Instead of this idea of, oh, let's just throw another Shrek out that sucks just to make money.
Well,
I mean, like, I actually like the fact that they're holding back and they're waiting and they build up, like where my daughter was actually talking about this. Oh, when are they going to make another part of that movie?
would you
They
say
will.
it's more of their baby than like a Toy Story?
So I would say it is better than Toy Story. And here's why I say a part of
Is that why you're saying they're holding?
Yeah, well, so it feels like Toy Story 3. It had a lot of good stuff in it, a lot of good potential. But I got to tell you, I remember Toy Story 1. It was so good that I was in college. It was like my freshman year, and we came home. All of my friends were playing football, and we were like, "Hey, man, let's go to the movies." And there was nothing to see or whatever, so we snuck into. I think we paid. We went into Toy Story. Yeah, we paid. We went into Toy Story, and we were sitting in the back of the theater. And, man, I was laughing so hard. I mean, it was me and all of my friends. I mean, we were laughing so hard because we got the jokes, the kids got the jokes. And you remember the little green alien and a claw came down and he was like, the claw. I thought that was the funniest thing ever, right? But then when they kind of like, they did the other movies, it kind of, okay, it had a little bit of that, but it wasn't loved. It wasn't like, I don't know. So hopefully this part 2 will have that missing ingredient where you've been waiting. We've all been waiting, and it's worth the wait. Hopefully.
You got it, because Samuel Jackson not getting any younger. Let's just throw that out there. We need to just do it.
He could be 100 as long as he could talk.
Right. Yeah, he's not going to actually be in the movie, Charlie.
Charlie's like, wow, he stretches for real?
They could always.
Come on, Jack. You all know it's bad. Come on.
They could actually replace him with Morgan Freeman, and we wouldn't notice. We'd be like, "That's cool."
Really? Did you just do that?
I did.
Oh,
Or Will Smith.
Or Will Smith,
MVP.
right?
So yeah, he said. So they were asking him how far along he is in his writing process. He says, "Oh yeah, I have a lot of pages, a bunch of pages. I had a lot of ideas for the original Incredibles that I didn't get a chance to use that I like. I have ideas that I wanted to pursue a little bit, but there wasn't enough time in the Incredibles."
It's gonna take like 5 years.
Yeah. There are new ideas I have. I think there's enough to get to that. So yeah,
Technically, it's cool because by the time it does come out, I can take my daughter, and she'll understand what's going on. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, he should wait. He should wait so Charlie can take his order.
And then for those that don't know, he also directed The Iron Giant and Family Dog. And
Ratatouille.
But these two are hand-drawn movies, and during another interview, he was talking about how he wanted to do another hand-drawn animation.
Well, I want to see some more of the technology they did with what's the animated short, Jack? They did
Paper,
Paperman, paper something.
yeah, paper. That was great. That was fantastic. It might be Paper Cut. That might be the actual name.
Not Paper Cut, is it?
I don't know. Let's see. I'll look it up. You guys keep talking.
Eddie Harrow.
Yeah.
Paperman.
Hey, so I have a question for Fisa.
Yeah. Yes, I'm here.
Ask carefully.
Here we go.
I need this to shut down.
Here we go. So, in your experience for your day-to-day job, so you're basically an environment lead, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to know, like, how much of your day are you still in the trenches doing artwork, or are you more of scheduling and stuff now? And what do you look for in a good environment artist?
I am still in the trenches. I just have to allocate myself. It's sad. I allocate myself less work, and I give more of the work to the, like, it's probably like a 2 or 3 man team. So I give it out to them, and I do less of the actual modeling, and I do more of the post and like the world building and unfortunately like the performance stuff, which
Okay, it's optimization and stuff.
yeah, kind of handling that end while they do all the art. So I'm kind of like the puppet master, where I get everyone else to do like the artwork, and then we can even extend it to, because we're also starting this thing where we have like prop specialists, and I had this at DICE too, where people just made the props, and then we had environment artists that assembled everything. So that's my day to day is a lot of I guess catching, putting out fires, and then sometimes getting to build stuff, which gets frustrating. But in the end, it's kind of when I see a map coming together, that's the rewarding part.
Cool. So would you say you're like the finisher then, like the final touch? Are you doing the final polish then?
Some of it. There's also people, like we have people who come in and light and do effects, and they do those parts. Yeah, my job is just to handle like.
Damn bit. She dropped out. I was gonna ask her what she
my
looks
environment artist on, and
No, if you guys click that link over there in our chat, it'll keep her in. I put it in there. Click that.
Oh man, this is good stuff.
It is good stuff.
Then get to me environment leads. That's good. John. Stupid.
I don't even know what to say to you right now.
So stupid.
Oh my god.
So it's good you guys all came out tonight. God bless.
You telling
good
me.
night.
All right, I'm back.
Cool. So you were saying that you didn't have, so your effects artists and your lighting artists are more contract artists that you bring in, or they just come in they're there, but they just come in toward the end of when the level's almost done?
They have like a kind of a dirty job, because they have to keep coming through. Like they may have to come in and relight a whole area 4 or 5 times, and then the effects guys may have to place effects several times. Like right now on the project I'm on, we're coming kind of to the end of the project. So our effects people have informed us they aren't touching nothing until the lighting is approved, because you know, if they put put something in and then the lighting changes, then it's going to be completely off. So they're like, that's kind of, I guess, how that works. It's just they're always coming through and placing that stuff.
And what would you say would be the best thing to do for an upcoming environment artist? I know we get a lot of artists that want to either just do props or just do, you know, environment, or what is your best advice for a good portfolio?
Honestly, to go to, I think there's that environment art. Crap, what is the name of that website? Let me look real quick. Hopefully it doesn't dump.
Yeah. You might want to go get another computer.
It's called, it's on Polycount. It's Game Art Portfolio Wall.
Oh yeah. You said, okay. You said look at other ones.
Yeah. Look at other people's websites.
Really
I mean, you gotta look at the competition. Like
ArtStation's good for that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're making props, I learned this too. Are you still there?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Are you still there?
Are you still there?
Oh no! I feel like someone's trolling me tonight. Carlos, did you do this?
Yeah.
The environment artist on here, and we get.
Right when she was going to say something important, I ejected her.
All right then.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All right, I'm back. What I was saying was when you're making your portfolio and your props, I learned this last time around. It's not just like taking a picture of it in ZBrush or in Maya. You have to like take it into like marmoset tool bag or key shot, and set it up with a nice HDR photo and have it rendered out really nice because next gen is the PBR. What is that?
Physical based rendering, yeah, PBR.
Yeah, physical based rendering, and you have to be able to show that you understand how that works, and you can't do that with something from a 3D modeling program. That's what I've seen a lot of people doing, is using those programs to showcase their props. And then of course you have Unreal 4 is out there to put scenes together as an environment artist. So putting those scenes together and sometimes tests, I guess. When you do a test for a studio and you may not get the job, you still have a piece of art there that you spent time on that you can still work on and put in your portfolio, and make it look better and update it and things like that.
Yeah.
Like for my last job, I created two different, even though I have all this portfolio of work, I created two different environments in Unreal 4 to get the job that I have now. And I did that on the side.
Yeah. That's awesome. And there's even setups now, because Unreal's done a great job with the documentation. There's even setups that mimic the marmoset or the key shot in Unreal 4.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we'll put it in the notes. A guy made it, and it was on the forums for the UE4 forums, and it was awesome. And it had 4 or 5 different HDR maps, and changed the lighting situation. There's a default, chrome sphere in there. You just delete that out, throw your model in. Looks great. We'll put the link up for you guys to know for that. I think he's been updating it with the different versions, but even if you don't do that, default lighting in Unreal, you just tweak the sky dome, tweak the lighting, as long as your PBR textures look great, it's gonna look nice.
You know what you can do too to cheat is they have those. I've gone in there too and taken some of those, those free scenes that you can pull.
Yes. You bleed everything else out and
yep, you throw everything else away. And you can just you're kind of reverse engineer it, and you don't have to you're like, oh, that's how they did that, and I'm just gonna throw my thing in here and it's gonna look cool.
Oh no!
We're being forced to pause.
Biggest pause. She'll be back.
We can.
I think the information's being disseminated. We're good.
Hey, did you guys see how quick Charlie was to let everybody know what PBR was? Physical based rendering? Yeah. I saw that, Charlie. I saw that. You were excited about it.
So why is that different than any kind of other rendering?
So physical based rendering is for people like Jack and other people in the film. They've already had it, It's the rendering systems like Mentoray and Arnold and all of these they're already physical based. Or basically in game the last 2 years, what has happened is lighting in game has now been dynamic in real time in terms of it accurately reflecting what materials look like in real life. So wood is gonna reflect differently, and it's gonna be different than what chrome would be. Whereas a lot of times in game back in the day, everything's like a big trick. Like you paint in your ambient occlusion, you paint in your shadows or something like that. Even on realistic stuff, now that we can accurately show what brass is or what gold is by plugging in numbers in our shader, it just makes everything look more photorealistic. So it's a new way of texturing once the PS4 came out and the Xbox One. I think one game did it on the last gen system. That was a game called Remember Me. It was at the very end of that system's cycle. Literally, maybe it came out in September, and then the new system came out in December. So but that's what it is. It's very closer to what they do with film. So ambient occlusion, all that stuff is basically separated out into its own node now in terms of the shader. Whereas before we would put everything into our diffuse, or we'd have to fake a lot of things. Reflections look amazing now. And they're accurately represented in this Unity and Unreal 4.
Is Fisa back?
Yes, I'm back. I was listening to his explanation. That was good.
So, are you accepting any applications?
Oh, at my plate? We're not accepting an environment artist right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
You want to
Maybe tomorrow morning when Charlie's not around.
You actually work with somebody I used to work with, though, Fisa.
now that I know when we have positions open, I can pass the word along.
Nice. Fisa, did you work with another young lady named Katie Debold?
Katie, where at Certain Affinity?
Yeah.
Katie, no, I think
You
I started there back in September. I don't think
Oh,
she
so you
was
just
there.
got there. Yeah, I think she just left too. She just left and went to Bioware, but she was there for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was wondering if she worked with that. I just looked her up, so I didn't know. But cool. You know, Carlos, there's one other thing based on what we were talking about earlier that I wanted to ask you guys about and have you and Jack and Tyrus chime in on is after seizing the opportunity like we were talking about, and PC, you can even jump in on this too, like what is the correct or the proper format in the whole negotiation portion after you've done your art test, after you've like got all that stuff? How do you navigate that being a new artist? I mean, mid-level artists are pretty much going to kind of know, and senior artists obviously going to be been around the block and they know how to do it. But especially for those guys who get that first job on like, when is it good to counter offer? When is it not? You guys got thoughts on that? I want to get that out, and especially since we have more of a lead here tonight, that'd be a good question for Fisa to chime in on too.
I would say always counter offer. What are they going to say? No.
Mm-hmm. Even if the offer is decent, or even if in the beginning, like you might not really know. You don't want to offend. Every company, I guess it would be different, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could always. I guess it depends on how you approach it, and it also depends on what a person thinks is a good salary when they come in. Because I think the reality is, once you're in there, your salary is not going to increase as much as you would think it would. So you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket when you get in there. Like I've had promises where, oh, you're going to get a bonus that's going to get you this much more money, or we're going to give you a raise next year that's this much money, but a lot of times those things don't pan out, and then you're just stuck with the salary you agreed upon.
And that's why I don't ever hang my wallet on a promise. It needs to be stacked up on cash. I'm not motivated by bonuses. I'm not motivated. You know what motivates me is a job well done. Having my bills paid. Those are the things that motivate me. So when you're looking at a job, you have a pretty good idea as to how much that job pays. And if you don't, that's why you go back to your support system. You go back to your friends and you see what's happening. There's websites out there like Glassdoor.com. You can go there and get a really good. There's people actually submitting how much money they've been making, and you could just do a search for a certain job type or a certain area, blah blah blah, and it'll give you what salaries for comparable positions. So you know that if you're going to a place that pays that type of artist, say 70,000, and you're asking for 100, you know you're not going to get that. Whereas if you are good at what you do, and some other person had submitted a salary of say 90,000, you might be able to squeeze out that extra 10. Mm-hmm. So again, it's you need to build a network, not just of your friends, but of people that are in the industry that'll be able to give you a good idea as to what you can get away with.
You also have to remember this too. The company you work for, sometimes it may be worth taking an L in the amount of money to work for that company, right? Like, And you guys, I want you guys to speak on that. We mentioned this earlier. Working for a certain company, does it give you credit when you go to work on your own projects? Absolutely. Working for a certain company, does it give you credit when you put your resume out in 5 or 10 years to go someplace else? Absolutely. For example, you go work at DreamWorks. When you're ready to leave DreamWorks, pretty good chance you're going to be able to get some callbacks and some opportunities. Digital domains. There's certain companies that hold that weight. And so if you know that the industry standard, maybe someplace else, you can get 75. But if you take this job at one company, you only get 70, but it's Blizzard. Then don't be stupid. Take the 70 and work for Blizzard, right? They're going to be around for a while. They have a name that rocks. They have a name that people recognize, and it looks great on your resume. Same with titles, too. That matters. What do you guys think about that?
I think.
Well, we can go back to the interview that we had with Wade Ryer. He was actually working for DreamWorks. They went through a dry spell. They had a huge layoff. He didn't make it through, I don't know, however many, but he ended up working for himself. And for the fact that he was working at DreamWorks holds a lot of water. And he said he's been busy. He works every day and has been that busy for a solid year. And it was right when he was laid off.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Jack?
I mean, are we talking again specifically about the weight of the company, or is there a redirect in this?
No redirect.
Well, you know what I was going to say, to go back to, like, let's say you're a first-time person going in to get a job, and they're giving you an offer.
Mm-hmm.
You have other ways to get extra money. You're not going through a headhunter. They're not having to pay for that. So you should get a signing bonus. If someone hasn't referred you to the studio, they don't have to pay out somebody else. So you could ask for, like, a little bit of something in a polite way, maybe, hey, I guess it's kind of like when you're bartering with somebody. You're like, you give them an offer, and if they say no, maybe they can meet you halfway, or you could ask for maybe a signing bonus or an extra little benefit. But definitely, if you're coming in and you haven't had a headhunter or referral, a signing bonus should be there.
And that's even for a first-time artist?
Yeah, I got a signing bonus when I first started, because I didn't go through a headhunter. I mean, they didn't have to pay another fee. So, and I don't think that's something they're going to say up front. But if you kind of put it in there, after they've made the offer, you go, hey, can I get a little bit of a signing bonus, and then make sure that if you're moving, they give you a decent amount of money to help you move.
Yeah. And what would you say a decent amount is, so people know, they have an idea? What do you think a decent, let's say you're a 22-year-old kid, you don't have a family or anything. What do you think a decent amount is to move?
Or relocation?
Relocation, yeah.
And you only have one car? Probably about, my friend barely did it and he had to, like, scrimp on, like, $6,000. So I would think probably about 65. Like, if you're moving from California to Austin.
So let's say California to St. Louis.
To St. Louis? Yeah, I would say about $6,000 at least to move. Because you got a truck, and I mean, they have a minimum. I think they charge a minimum of like $3,000 just to move your stuff, and that's not including your car, and that's not hotel, and that's not flying out there to find a place to live. You got to, all that stuff should be.
And a lot of people, some companies even offer, 7-day. They put you up somewhere or something like that. First get there.
And don't forget that there's a lot of times if you have to break a lease, like if you have an apartment in LA and you've been there for 3 months but you signed a 1-year lease, they're going to charge you 3 months. So all of that stuff should factor in there.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be the good thing, like we're talking about now. Even if you're a new artist, like you said, like those are the things that, like, you have to just, in a polite, professional way, list these things in a professional way and not just blindly ask for it without reasoning. I have to break my lease. Moving company is going to cost around this is what I've researched, and then you list the ones, and you can even, ask if they have comparable ones to that, right? And and then go from there. So I think having reasons to back you up while you're asking for the things is the big thing too.
And that's what's really cool about having HR reps is because your art director doesn't want to know how much you're making. They just want to know that you're going to show up and get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Your salary, they don't care. HR people, all they care about is there's a hole that they need to fill with a body, and they need you there as soon as they can get you there. So you're going to be negotiating with the HR person, and generally speaking, HR people are very cool. Probably because they don't get slammed, and they don't have to put in extremely long hours. But generally speaking, HR people are very cool. They have a really good understanding as far as how much money they can get away with, and it's just they like doing it. So by you asking for whatever money to move, they understand that because they've heard it all before.
Cool.
And with that said, we're getting close to 2 hours, fellas and lady. So do we have any other questions for Fisa? Fisa, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, sure. How did you guys start this? I mean, I'm sure everybody who's listening knows, but like, who's your
leader?
Like leader? No, but I mean, what inspired you guys to start this talk show? I guess.
In order for Carlos to continue receiving his welfare check, he had to show that he was trying to start a business. This is that business.
That's
nice.
Right. Because I had to feed my babies at Tyrus's house. No, for real. What happened was I built this website, the Sketch Zone, and it's where people can submit their work. And I thought it would be really cool. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to get their work seen, but maybe they don't have the capability of moving to LA to get a job in the creative industry, or whatever the case may be. So I wanted to have where people can share their artwork, people can rate it, and then if they win, that they get the exposure that they're trying to get. And so far it's worked out because we've got our first winner was a college graduate that's been looking for work. We got another winner was the guy who moved from San Diego, and he's up in LA now. And just through talking to him, we were able to kind of connect him with someone else that does the ZBrush and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a networking thing for people, not only professionals like you, that you guys can come in and give an idea of what's happening in the industry and how can people make it, and then once you make it, what's it look like? Because everyone thinks, oh, I make video games and it's a wonderful thing. When you actually get it to a video game company and you have a deadline, life sucks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of getting a glimpse from the professionals and at the same time giving a hand up to the people that are trying to make it.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
We bring them on the show and they get to talk, and it's really good.
Yeah. Well, and then the podcast was just kind of in addition to that. Like, if you win, you get to be on the podcast, and I thought it would be fun to do a podcast.
Oh.
Plus, we know, like, between the four of us, we know a lot of people in the industry that can help, spread the word. So.
And we want to get honest, less scripted and honest, conversation over current events as well as art from an artist's perspective, because we're all artists. So a lot of times we've had really good conversations, like tonight, on different issues. And some of the issues have gotten real heated, but we're all really good friends, so we can say our minds, or we can let Tyrus rant for like a half an hour, and it's okay, because
so now that we know that you're wrong,
so it's good. But no, it's in all seriousness, it's like I think the honest conversation is what people have come and told me about the most. They like listening to us go back and forth and work out problems and give like a little bit of insight on stuff that people don't normally talk about.
Charlie?
Yes, go ahead, Tyrus. Get it off your chest.
I'm just continue.
That's it? So, yeah.
All right. So with that, let's go ahead and start wrapping it up. Charlie B. Williams.
Yes.
Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at CBW3. You can also find me at my website. That's www.cargocollective.com/Charlie B. Williams. And, yeah.
And Jack Kasperzak.
I'm on sketchbookjack.com and sketchbookjack on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Tyrus.
I mean, Tigo Sketch Illustration, or on Instagram under Tigo Sketch, or Facebook under Tigo Sketch.
And Fisa, thank you for being a part of the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys.
Hang on, she needs to clap.
Jack, what are you doing?
What?
He's picking his fingernail. Let's try that again. Fisa, thank you for coming to hang out with us.
Yay!
Jesus.
I had to make you wait a second.
Well,
Freak out. I saw all your heads
Jack's like,
shaking.
what?
I run this. You wait on me.
You got a finger to press a fucking button too.
Whoa.
Hey-o.
Whoa. Calm down, Jack. It's okay.
Jeez, this guy's out of control.
Fisa, do you have a online social presence?
I'm on Facebook by my name, Fisa Castellanos, and then I have a website that's fushkadesign.com.
Bushka.
Fushka, like F-U...
Whoa.
Oh.
Fushca design.com. That's what they call Beatles in Rio de Janeiro. Volkswagen Beatles or Fushka.
No.
I don't know if that's true or not.
It is.
We need a Google
I don't know
check.
if it's true.
It's a random fact that people just made up.
No.
That's how you say Beetle.
No, see, because my name is Fisa, so when I lived there, they would say Fushka, and I'm like, what the heck is Fushka? And they told me that's what that meant. I'm like, no, my name is Fisa.
We're going to have to Google translate that.
Yes.
Someone do that real quick. And I'm Carlos Gomez. You can find me at carlosrgomez.com, or you can find me Coconut Justice pretty much everywhere. And this has been Sketchzone the podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Sketchzone. On YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on iTunes, Stitcher. Have I forgotten any?
YouTube.
SoundCloud. I already said YouTube. And we're on SoundCloud.
You already said SoundCloud.
I know. Easy, killer. God. Everyone have a good week.
Bye. Bye, everybody.